property that has been recovered from that crime scene that was not seized as evidence is being recovered, and we are going to establish a process, which I will be able to tell you about hopefully tomorrow, to return that property to people. We're just working out the details of that. So I'll come back tomorrow hopefully and provide a bit more information. We understand that the fact that this closure, this crime scene, has been in place now into our fourth day, has had an impact on the immediate surrounding community, the school, people who live in the area, and businesses, particularly that operate along Fraser Street. We thank everybody for their patience. We know this has had an impact, and we're working to get that area reopened as soon as possible. I want to provide a little bit of clarification on something I told you about yesterday. Of the 11 murder victims, I told you yesterday that 9 were women and 2 were men. Slight clarification there. 8 are women, 1 is a 5-year-old girl, and 2 are men. The medical status of the surviving victims who are in hospital remains unchanged. 7 people remain in critical condition. 3 people remain in serious condition. Of the 7 people in critical condition, 2 are women, 5 are men, and they range in age from 29 to 66. The youngest and the oldest both being men. Of the patients in hospital who are in serious condition, they are all male, and they range in age from 22 months to 60 years old. We are working to confirm the nationalities of all victims, homicide victims and surviving victims. I told you yesterday, of the 11 homicide victims, we'd confirmed that 10 of them were Metro Vancouver residents. We are still doing extra work to confirm their nationalities. We're working with partners, particularly at Global Affairs Canada, to do so. If there are surviving victims who are foreign nationals, we encourage them to contact their consulate for support. In terms of the investigation, it's ongoing, and it will be ongoing for some time. We have full-time investigators that we've pulled from various sections throughout the Vancouver Police Department. These are seasoned and experienced investigators. This investigation is being led by our major crime section. However, it's utilizing investigators from our organized crime section, our general investigation section, our special investigations section, our forensic video unit, and others. We have identified more than 200 witnesses, and we are in the process of contacting all of those witnesses. Due to the sheer number of them, it is taking time. We are working hard to contact and to speak to all witnesses, but it will take time. We're conducting a video canvass, and that video canvass spans a radius of 25 blocks. It's a very large area. We're following up on 43 tips that have been called in to our homicide hotline, 604-717-2500. And so far, we've received 51 submissions to our video portal. We've established this portal. We've linked it at vpd.ca. We've also posted it to our socials with a QR code. Anybody who is in the area who has video or still photos from the crime scene, from the incident, we'd like them to contact us and to submit that. That's a critical part of our investigation. Our Friends and Family Assistance Center that we established at Douglas Park Community Center remains open until 8 p.m. tonight. It will close at 8 p.m. and it will not reopen tomorrow. We've established a community support center, which is a small, modest trailer at 41st and Fraser. And this is going to be a place for people to come if they would like to obtain information, seek emotional support, or access resources. It will be staffed by VPD personnel, and there will be victim services support workers there as well. This will remain open from noon until 8 p.m. daily until the end of this week. If we decide to keep it there for additional days, we'll update you later in the week. Those are all of my updates for today. I am happy to take any questions you have. I'll do my best to answer them. If I can't answer them, I'll bring you the information tomorrow. Go ahead.
Thank you. It's Brenna with the Canadian
Hi, Brenna.
Press. I'm just wondering if you can provide any kind of potential timeline you might expect for recommending additional charges.
So we have 11 homicide victims, 8 second-degree murder charges have been laid. We submit our evidence to Crown Counsel. That timeline will largely depend on Crown Counsel's charge approval threshold. So the short answer to you is I cannot give you a specific time. Go ahead.
Is last week's fire at East Hastings still being treated as suspicious? Is there any update to the investigation?
So I'll answer that question quickly, but the purpose of this briefing is to talk about updates related to the Lapu Lapu Festival vehicle attack. I'll answer that question. The fire is still under investigation. Go ahead.
Did you say a 22-month-old is in serious?
Yes.
Thank you. Also, how many foreign nationals are also?
We don't have that information.
Do we know how many children were either injured or killed in the attack?
Amongst the homicide victims, the murder victims, the youngest was 5 years old. Of the surviving victims who are still in hospital, there is one child, and that child is 22 months old.
So at least one child killed and at least one child injured?
Yes, there are other victims who are not currently in serious or critical condition, who are not amongst the 11 murder victims. There are a number of people who are injured here. I don't have additional specific information, demographic information about their ages or genders at this time. Kim?
Can you give us a time frame, like a start date or a rough start date and an end date to Vancouver police interactions with this person in the months or years prior to this event?
I don't have that information, and I'm not prepared to say more than what we've already said, and that is, and I know you've heard it, but I'll repeat it for those who haven't. The accused in this case has had previous interactions with police and medical professionals related to mental health. Go ahead.
Follow up, please. Were your officers aware of the interaction with the neighboring jurisdiction before Saturday's event or only afterwards?
The interaction in the neighboring jurisdiction that occurred the day before, April 25th, was something that was not criminal in nature and did not rise to the level of requiring mental health intervention. Generally speaking, I can tell you that whether it's in Vancouver or a neighboring jurisdiction, when a police officer attends a call for service, a report is written about that call for service. It goes into a database, the PRIME database, that all police officers would have access to. So there is documentation of that. However, I'm not aware of any specific information that was directly passed on to the Vancouver Police Department or any other police department related to that interaction. And I can tell you what I do know about that interaction. In my experience, it's not something that would warrant proactive outreach.
So afterwards, when you checked prom, you would have seen it?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Keeping on what Kim's saying, like from Ben Milger, Steve, globally here, so when Vancouver Police, an officer, makes contact with someone who is on leave from a mental health facility, if you will, is it protocol that they then contact the team that usually looks after them or checks in with the mental health facility?
It's entirely circumstantial. Without having more specific information, I'd hate to speak in such generalities. It would be irresponsible to do so.
And this is a bit of repetition here from what Kim was asking you earlier, but this is again from Ben. Did VPD have any recent communications between Coastal Health and?
I don't know.
One for me, like.
Yes.
I think we know this, in a little more details. The road is still closed.
Yes.
And it's for some time. What are the little details? What is happening in there? What are police doing at this time?
Sure. So the specific crime scene includes East 40, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Jason, but the specific crime scene includes East 43rd Avenue from St. George to Fraser Street, and from Fraser Street to 45th, approximately 45th. 41st to 45th. That's the area, the immediate crime scene that was secured in the immediate aftermath of the vehicle attack on Saturday night. Our officers have been working throughout that crime scene since that time to process that crime scene and collect evidence. It's a significant, the size of the crime scene is significant in size. There is a lot of evidence to collect. We've taken the time that we need to collect that evidence. Our work is done. However, the city of Vancouver has taken the responsibility of taking steps to reopen that street, those streets, for the public's use. I've been in contact with the city of Vancouver. They've asked that I refer specific questions about those steps to them. So I would encourage you, if you've got additional questions about what those steps are to reopen the streets that have been closed, that you reach out to the city of Vancouver. I spoke with my colleagues there shortly before I came down to see you. My understanding is we do expect it to remain closed or secure, at least until tomorrow. We've worked with the city of Vancouver to collect personal property that remains there, and as I said before, we'll work on a process whereby people can contact us to retrieve that property. We're just not quite there yet. We want to make sure when we give out information, it's the correct information. So I'll have more on that for you tomorrow. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's going to be one more.
Yes.
Tonight, so
Yes.
I promise. I think you talked a little bit about this yesterday. Several officers down there on the immediate day and afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
How are they?
Well, like everybody else in the community who's had to experience this, many of us are dealing with it in different ways, but we're all struggling to a certain degree in our own ways, but we have lots of support here. So critical incident stress debriefs, we call them diffusings, peer support, and other services that our organization provides to us. I certainly don't want to make this about us. This is about the community. This is about victims and families and healing for the community, and we're absolutely part of that community. And while this has an impact on us, we don't want this conversation to be about us. We have a job to do. We're professionals. We're impacted by this, but we need to maintain our focus here. Our focus is on victims, families, and collecting the evidence that we need to complete this investigation. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, just a quick follow-up to the kind of charge recommendation and assessment.
Yep.
Are you waiting to hear back from the prosecution service on some of what you've already forwarded, or are you still in the process of just forwarding evidence?
During an I'm going to speak in general terms because I don't have a specific answer for this, but during an investigation like this, generally what will happen is we'll submit the evidence that we have in the first instance, and that evidence resulted in the laying of those 8 second-degree murder charges. And through the course of the investigation, at various times, we will submit additional evidence, which will presumably result in additional charges. And that may take place multiple times over the course of this investigation, because we're not just talking about 11 murder victims here. We're talking about other people who are victims who have been seriously injured. Many of them we may not even know about yet. As I said yesterday, there may be people who left the area who have not come forward for personal reasons, and should they choose to come forward, we'll then begin a process to investigate and speak to them. So the answer to that is we will continuously provide updates to Crown Counsel. We'll allow them to go through their charge assessment process, which is independent of us, and I certainly don't want to speak for Crown or their timeline, but we'll just continue to do our work. Okay, go ahead.
Irish Associated Press, the contact police had with Flo the day before the attack was not criminal in nature, so did a citizen report someone actually community?
I'm not prepared to get into additional detail.
And was it police who had that contact with Flo who determined while responding to the call that he did not need mental health treatment? Was it police who made that decision?
I'm not prepared to get into further detail beyond what I've already provided. Hi.
us a sense of what needs to be collected in the area and how long that process will take it, and whether there's concerns from people who feel too traumatized to come back to the scene?
So to clarify, I think the question was, give us you a sense of what needs to be collected in the area and if there's concerns for people who are maybe too traumatized to come back to the scene. So our investigative work is complete. Personal property that has been left behind has been retrieved. We're working on a process to return that to the rightful owners. The City of Vancouver has taken responsibility to take steps to reopen that area, and they've asked that we refer specific questions to them about what those steps are. The follow-up to your question, there may be people who are either victims or witnesses who have not come forward, who left the crime scene in the aftermath, who are struggling, who are traumatized, who may need help, professional help, whether it's medical help or emotional help. And that's one of the reasons why we've established a community support center in the area. We encourage people to come if they're seeking information, if they're seeking support, want to know what their options are. They're more than welcome to come forward. We invite them to come forward. We'll provide additional information in the days ahead about how people can independently reach out if they'd like to speak to our Victim Services Unit, which is a team of civilian, professional, trained victim support workers. And we'll provide some additional information about that in the days ahead for anybody in the community who continues to struggle.
Steve, do you have a better idea at this point of the total number of people injured?
I'm not going to give a specific number. But it's dozens. Between people who are injured and people who have been killed, there are dozens of victims.
And is the number of killed still 11?
Yes.
Is there any indication about people in?
I'm not prepared to. We're not going to speculate. There are 11 people have died.
Okay.
There are additional people in hospital. 7 are in critical condition. 3 are serious.
This question was asked earlier, but I just want to clarify. So was Vancouver Coastal Health contacted during or after the encounter police had before you, the day before you?
I'm not prepared to provide additional information about the April 25th interaction or contact that this individual had with police beyond what I've already told you. And you can ask me as many times as you want, the answer's not going to change. There was contact with the police in a neighboring jurisdiction on April 25th, the day before this incident. That contact was not criminal in nature, and it did not rise to the level where mental health intervention was required.
The contact was in person?
You can ask me as many different times as you want. My answer is not going to change. Thank you. Any additional questions? Okay, I'm going to go to the phones. Do we have people on the phones? Press *1 to get in the queue. Go ahead, state your name and your agency, please. Go ahead if you're on the phone.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Justine Hunter with the Globe and Mail.
Hi, Justine.
I was wondering if you could tell me if you're investigating this as a hate crime.
This appears, all indications are this was a completely indiscriminate act of violence. We are not investigating this at this point as a hate crime.
All right, thanks.
Next question. Go ahead. Go ahead with your question.
Mike, just in Vancouver.
Go ahead.
This morning, the Premier announced that he wants to establish an independent commission to set up guidelines, communities across the province to ensure that if they want to hold public events this summer, that they will be safe and run smoothly. And I'm wondering if the Premier's office has contacted the VPD and whether the VPD will be involved in any way in that commission.
Well, first of all, Mike, I'll tell you that we welcome any additional support that the province of British Columbia is prepared and willing to provide. Mayor Sim has already announced that the City of Vancouver will be undergoing an internal review. We have said very clearly that while we believe that the planning for this particular event was sound and that everything was done appropriately, that we're certainly open to reviews and to considering what changes may need to be made in the future. So we welcome any review the province will do, and we welcome any additional support. We're confident that we already implement best practices for hosting events, big and small. We've hosted the Olympics. We're hosting FIFA next year. We hosted 3 nights of Taylor Swift last year. We host Celebration of Lights every year down at the waterfront that brings hundreds of thousands of people out. We have more than 1,000 protests a year in this city, more than 3,200 different events, ranging from small community block parties to 3 consecutive nights of Taylor Swift that bring tens of thousands of people to our city. We know how to host safe events safely and properly. Our planning for these events, it's done by senior planners in our emergency operations section, overseen by our most senior executive. We have sent our own people, our own officers around the world to learn from other countries, including sending officers to the last FIFA World Cup to learn in first person from their experiences and bring that knowledge back so that when we host FIFA next year, we're implementing best practices. We have recruited experienced officers from other countries, from the UK, who have brought with them vast experience in dealing with public order or crowd control situations. And we've implemented their experience in our processes. We've learned a lot from our previous experiences, both good and bad, namely the 2011 Stanley Cup riot, where we conducted an extensive review to what went wrong, what changes were made, and implemented changes. We have a trained and experienced dedicated team called a public safety unit, which is experienced in crowd control tactics. They're actually training right now over at our kiosk lot where we keep our vehicles across the street. We have our PSU bicycles that are training right now. This unit works with other public safety partners, namely Vancouver Fire Rescue Services, and deploys multiple times throughout the year. We know how to host events. We know how to host events safely, big and small. That said, we're open to support, we're open to suggestions, we're open to making changes in the name of public safety if changes are required.
Follow up, if I may. You mentioned that the DPD has identified 200 witnesses. Can you tell me how that came about? Was it through video? Was it through people contacting you or people? I just wanted to be clear on that because I know in the past when there's a major criminal event in the city, the DPD will bring in buses and put people on buses who are at a crime scene. Tell me if that happened here and maybe just flesh out how you've identified 200 witnesses and why it's taking time to interview them.
Well, some of the witnesses were present at the crime scene in the immediate aftermath and were identified immediately by our officers as they responded to this vehicle attack. Others have come forward after the fact. We will continue the process to seek out and interview people who have information, witnesses, that will help us complete this investigation. There's 200 witnesses. To interview them properly in a trauma-informed way that protects the integrity of our criminal, very serious criminal investigation, it's going to take time, and we're going to take the time to do it right. A witness who comes forward is coming forward on their own initiative and needs to participate in an investigation on their own volition, and we need to treat them with respect in a trauma-informed and victim-centered way. So while it is a priority to collect every piece of evidence and every piece of perishable evidence we can to complete this investigation in a reasonable time frame, we're going to take the time that we need to do it right. Any more questions, Mike?
Yes, one more, please.
Go ahead.
I know that the VPD trains for active shooter situations. There's been numerous exercises with emergency personnel over the years about preparing for a disaster like an earthquake. How do you prepare for something that, by all accounts, was unpredictable, and just maybe flush that out a bit?
The very nature of this vehicle attack was unpredictable, and as we've talked about already, it's hard to safeguard, it's hard to predict. Well, it's impossible to predict the unpredictable. That's what makes it unpredictable. However, once this horrific crime, this vehicle attack occurred, every available police officer used all of their skills and experience to respond and to respond professionally. And that's everybody from the first officers who were on scene, who were tending to victims who were seriously injured, frightened, some of them potentially running away out of fear, extremely traumatized, and doing so in working with them in a trauma-informed and careful way, to providing immediate first aid to those most seriously injured, to tending to the people who didn't make it. Our first responders, the people who showed up first and dropped everything to rush there, did an amazing job. And again, I don't want to make this about us, because this is about the community, and this is about the lives that have been lost, and the victims and the families and the community and the healing. But aside from those first responders who did heroic work in the immediate aftermath, in the minutes and the hours after this horrific attack, we have our most experienced investigators who have been working around the clock to collect evidence, to complete this investigation. And these are investigators who have many, many years on this job, who've worked in homicide, who have worked in major crime, who have worked in arson, who have worked in sex crimes, who are forensic interviewers, polygraph examiners, forensic video experts, forensic identification experts, and others. In the course of your career as a police officer, through experience and training, we learn how to deal with these incidents. This incident is unlike anything that we've ever dealt with here in Vancouver, but we're really proud of the work that we've done, and really proud of the work that we will continue to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mike. Who else is in the queue? Go ahead with your question. Sorry, I'm going to have to get you to speak up. I can't hear you.
Lauren Collins, Black Hawk Media.
Hi, Lori.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi.
Or Lauren. Sorry, go ahead, Lauren.
Regarding the additional charges, would they be different to the second-degree murder charges, or would it be additional second-degree murder charges?
The question is, would any additional charges be the same or different? I don't have that answer. We will leave that in the hands of Crown Counsel to do their independent charge assessment.
Okay. And then just one more. So speaking to the delay with the additional charges, is it a backlog from prosecution service, or is it still the VPD still investigating and still recommending?
I don't have an answer to that. I'm sorry. You may wish to reach out to the BC Prosecution Service for information. We're in the situation that we've got now is that we have charges, 8 second-degree murder charges that have been laid against the suspect who remains in custody. So the fact that he remains in custody allows us some additional time to conduct that investigation. We'll present our evidence to Crown Counsel, and they'll do their independent charge assessment process. What's happening here in terms of this investigation, although this is on such a massive scale, unlike anything that we've seen, is not anything abnormal to what we would see in other cases.
Perfect. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. There's nobody else on the phone. One more time around the room. Go ahead.
Sorry, just quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
To follow up on event safety,
Mhm.
could you give any insight into the decisions behind like when a physical barrier or a barrier truck or something might be used and when it might not?
Great question. So the Vancouver Police Department was involved or engaged in planning and discussions for more than 3,200 different community events last year, ranging from, as I said, major concerts, fireworks, to small community events. There's a process that takes place, risk assessments that take place. Generally speaking, well, I can give you specific numbers. Last year, out of the 3,200 different events that we were engaged with, we deployed heavy vehicle barriers, those dump trucks that you see, at 9. Okay. We do an assessment through our emergency planning section with senior planners. It's overseen by very experienced police officers to conduct assessments. We work with community groups. We work with the city as well to determine the most appropriate measures to put in place. So if you were out here for the Sun Run on Sunday, the Vancouver Sun Run 10K, 10-kilometer course throughout the city, the biggest organized run in Canada, you would have seen a mix of safety measures, everything from heavy vehicle barriers to intersections where you had police officers and vehicles with lights on, to other smaller intersections where you may have just had a wooden barrier. And you'd see the same at any large event, whether it's the fireworks where you come down to the West End and you see the heavy vehicle barriers. Taylor Swift concert outside BC Place, we had heavy vehicle barriers. Generally speaking, when we talk about heavy vehicle barriers, like those big dump trucks, they're put in places where there are large crowds gathering, and no secret, we put them there to prevent vehicles from entering areas where there are large crowds. And this has been the result of horrible tragedies that have occurred in other cities around the world where people in vehicles have rammed through crowds and killed people. So the decision that's made on where to place heavy vehicle barriers is contingent on the nature of the event, the risk assessment of the event, and where crowds will be.
And just triple checking again, the count, I know.
Yep, no, it's fine. Just be right.
You said 11, but by our own count and with all the GoFundMe online, I think we would maybe possibly getting 12. You're firm on that number, and do you expect it to change at all today?
The number of people killed is 11. That is the number that of people that we have been given. We are sorry. Let me clarify that. The number of people who have died, who have been killed, the murder victims, is 11. The numbers that I provide you related to those who are in critical condition and serious condition is updated information that we're receiving from our health partners. The information that we've provided is the best and most accurate information that we have, the most up-to-date information that was provided to me just before I came down here today. And if that changes, we will let you know.
How many victims are police still working to identify?
There are people who may have sought medical help on their own who we don't know about, and if there are people, we want to hear from them. Of the victims that we know about, we've identified all of them.
So nobody seriously hurt or killed has not been, or hasn't been identified yet?
No, not that I'm aware of.
The BC Ministry of Health said in a statement earlier today that 16 patients remain in hospital. Can you just clarify the injured numbers? You said 10.
No, I didn't. No, I've told you that there are 7 in critical condition and 3 in serious condition. There may be additional victims who are in hospital beyond that. Okay, I'm going to end it there. I'll be back tomorrow, or one of us will be back tomorrow to provide further information. Thanks, everybody, very much. Okay, have a great day.